Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. So while I know I've already covered a fair amount of the things in Guild Wars 2 back at the beginning of the game, I feel like I probably could have done either a better job or covered some of that information in more depth. So today marks the start of a new beginner series. Today I'd like to talk to you all about the server system, not only because it's one of the first things that you encounter when you start playing Guild Wars 2, but also outside of the home server you pick at the very beginning, there's a lot more to servers that I feel is worth mentioning, especially if you're just starting out in the game. And that seems as fair a place as any to talk about home servers. When you first boot into Guild Wars 2, you're going to be prompted with a screen that has a series of servers on it. Now, if you're coming from another MMO, then you probably think you know what these mean, but I promise you don't. There's a mega server system in place, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it kind of gums up the whole traditional MMO server system. So typically, if this is your first MMO, each one of these servers would dictate who you could play with. But with Guild Wars 2, that's not the case. All you need to consider when selecting a home server is your location and whether or not you're going to be playing world versus world. Now, your location only really matters because you'll be connected to a data center, so pick one that's closest to your actual location for a better connection. Basically, pick North America if that's where you live, and likewise for the European servers. I haven't done any testing myself, but I hear that when the data center is nice and close to you, you'll have a better connection, so that's my suggestion as far as that's concerned. Now, I did just say that you should also keep in mind the server you're on if you want to play world versus world, and that's because the server you're on very much dictates the people you can play with. Now, I don't want to go into world versus world as I'm pseudo-experienced, but not anywhere near as much as some veterans out there, and because I want this to be a video on the server system. But essentially, world versus world is where a bunch of people on the same server get together and team up against other servers. So obviously, the server is going to matter here. I should probably also make mention that periodically some of these servers will be linked together, usually or theoretically, depending on who you talk to, in terms of player population on a particular server. Basically, low population servers should be matched with higher ones, but if you're really trying to get into Guild Wars 2 to play some world versus world, I probably wouldn't hope that my server is going to be paired with the server my friends are on. Now, let's say that you've been playing the game for a while on a server that you've chosen for yourself, and then you make some friends in game who play world versus world. You now very much want to play world versus world with these people, and you need to transfer your server. The amount of money you'll need to spend in order to transfer servers is going to depend on the population of the server you'd like to transfer to, and you'll need to convert some money into the Guild Wars 2 cash shop currency gems in order to make this transaction. To purchase gems, you can actually only do that in the game, so you actually have to create a character and log in, but we will not be talking about that today because that's not really the focal point of the video. Also, I should probably make mention of the fact that if you should happen to delete all your characters, you'll be able to transfer servers for free, but you'll have to delete all your characters in order to do that. Lastly, on home servers, you may notice the option to guest a server, and that's because a while back we actually did have that traditional MMO system in place, and guesting actually allowed you to play with people outside of your server for free. Now, this would not allow you to participate in world versus world with the server you're guesting on, but it did expand the people that you could play with, and nowadays is sort of just a relic of that old system. So I spoke earlier about how home servers really don't matter anymore, and that brings us to our next topic, which is the mega servers. If you've played the Guild Wars 2 of today, then you probably played with people on those other home servers without even noticing it. The way the mega server system works is each map has a capacity. Once enough players have filled that map up, the game then generates a new instance of the same map. Personally, I really prefer this system because it allows you to play with everyone. Now, the system is by no means perfect, and it's not necessarily broken, but there are a few small things you may notice while you're playing. For instance, you may start playing with a friend, you guys party up and you head to the same map, but your friend is now on one instance of the map and you're on the other. This is pretty easy to fix. All you have to do is go over to the party UI, right click on your friend, and you should see an option that says to join them in whatever map they're currently in. Just click on that and you guys should now be loaded in on the same map and able to play together. Unfortunately though, this still isn't always the case. For instance, there are things that happen in Guild Wars 2 that require a lot of people to complete, or at least a lot of people show up to complete these to get the rewards, and so naturally you want in on those rewards yourself, so you head on over to that map. Now when you load in, you notice that there really aren't that many people on this particular instance of the map. That's because the really big group of people already all partied up and they're on another instance of the map. Well, we know from before that if you're in the same party as somebody, you can right click on their name and join them in that instance of the map, so the next logical step is to try and get into that party. Now again, this isn't really a guide on any of that, so let's just say you find yourself in that party. You right click on another player, it says join wherever you're trying to play, and when you click on it you get an error saying that you can't. This is all just telling you what you probably already know, and that's that the main instance of this, or at least the instance that that party is playing on, is 100% full. Now, just because a map is full doesn't mean you can't wait it out and continuously try to join that instance of the map, but you're basically waiting on someone to leave that map. Obviously, real world things come up and people have to log out, but the majority of those players are there for those rewards, and chances are they're probably not going to get off until the event's already over. Now, the regularity of this happening is going to depend on the content that you're playing, the maps that you like to play. There are a lot of variables, but I definitely wanted to make mention of this because this was something that I saw a lot of my friends struggle with when we would play together, and especially if you're just playing this game solo, it can be kind of confusing, and so I wanted to point that out. Along the same lines, if you're playing on a map with a big group of people and enough people start to leave, the game will actually offer you up another instance of the map with more players on it. Now, the way that this is supposed to work is it's supposed to prioritize your friends, guildmates, and people on the same home server as you when offering you a new instance of the map. Now, I haven't exactly tested this, but especially when first forming a party, I almost always end up on a different instance of the map than my friends. But once we've been partied up for a while, it seems like as long as we travel together, we end up on the same instance of the map. In other words, don't count on the game sorting you the way you'd like to, just keep in mind some things that I said a little earlier on, so when it doesn't sort you the way that you'd like, you could still play with your friends. Anyway guys, that's just about everything I'd like to cover regarding servers. I hope this helps somebody out there who was trying to figure out how all these systems work, especially when a lot of them really don't seem to make any sense in the current context of how mega servers actually work. If you've just started playing the game, feel free to check out some of my other videos if you like this one. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.